everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beard, taking a look at the DRF race of the day for Thursday, September the 5th. Let's throw up the field for race number 9 at Kentucky Downs. We're going 1.70 miles. $500,000 is the purse for the restricted One Dreamer Stakes. This race for fillies and mares that have not won a stake in 2024. It is a gigantic field, 12 in the body of the race, 13 through 15 also eligibles. All of the alsos have a chance on paper, so keep an eye on scratches. While this race is restricted, Mike, there are horses in this race with proven graded / group form.
Yeah, it's a pretty good field. You're right. Maybe not. Maybe some of those horses aren't in their best form of their life so far this year, but man, they have races to get to that would make them really tough. And we also have the defending champ of this race back in here, Dan, the 5, Sister Luann.
Getting back to her best surface turf after being washed off last time out. So we'll throw up our Timeform US pace projector and see where our friends at Timeform US have these horses after the opening half mile. The 12 Hidden Connection is going to be trying turf for the first time, shedding the blinkers. It'll be interesting to see what sort of pace this one shows. Safin the 7 always seems to show a little bit of speed, Mike. I think one of her best races came at Churchill, 3 back in the mid-julep on the lead, and she's getting blinkers on.
Yeah, didn't see, a ton of blazers in here. That's for sure. Certainly Hidden Connection, the way that they, tend to ride her on the main track. If they're going to ride her like that here, she could easily make the lead then. Either way, didn't necessarily think this pace had to be super fast.
I wonder if the 11, Angel Not a Sheepko, is going to try to get to the lead. Her best race came when she was able to set glacial fractions up front, and she hasn't gotten back to that race just yet. Keep an eye on the number 9, Stir Crazy, if the pace does heat up. Note the LP flag over her Chicklet. She has the fastest Timeform US late pace rating. We'll start things off with the number 1, Never Walk Alone, a multiple Group 1 stakes winner, inter-native Argentina, who might just be getting acclimated to North American racing. She's only raced twice in the States for trainer Paulo Lobo. Last time out at Ellis Park, she saved ground throughout, cut the corner into the stretch, and gave an even finish behind a decent horse in Walkathon. She's very lightly raced, technically sort of just turned into a 4-year-old, a Southern Hemisphere 3-year-old. She has some upside.
Yeah, it might pay to, even if she doesn't do much in this race, might pay to stick with her for another race today, because she does appear to have some talent. Really good trainer in her corner now, 3rd off the layup. If I'm being honest, I wanted to see a little more from her in both of her starts so far since she's gotten over here, but there is room to improve. She will be a price.
The number 2 is Immensitude going out for Bill Mott. Now, she was a Group 3 winner in her native France, and perhaps that experience will help at Kentucky Downs, where you've got all the little nooks and crannies of a European-style turf course. Beating a length last time out at Saratoga and a high-level allowance. I like the tactical speed she showed in that race, a race with no pace.
Yeah, they did get forward with her in there. Maybe that's part of the problem, though, Dan. I mean, she did get up close. The pace wasn't that fast. She was in that sort of 3-wide trip around the track. She felt like she had a real shot at it through the stretch of that race, as did everybody. It was sort of wide open the final 1/8 of a mile, and she just wasn't quite good enough. I was a little bit disappointed in that. I liked her final start in France last year. I thought she looked really good winning. I really liked her stateside debut at Keeneland, where I thought she had a little bit of a trip, and I thought she'd run better at Saratoga last time, and she didn't. 15-1, though. It's going to be hard for me not to use her somewhere.
I'm not sure if the number 3 Regal Realm will compete. After all, she raced last weekend defending her championship in the ladies' turf at Kentucky Downs, and I just think an outside post and a tougher field in this year's edition of the ladies' turf worked against her. She went gate to wire in the race in 2023. I guess if she runs in this spot, she's getting a little bit of class relief, but she was handled by a couple of these 2 back as well, and I thought she had a good trip at Ellis.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even 3 starts back. I know she was off the layoff there at Horseshoe, Indianapolis, but I didn't see her really her excuse that day either, Dan. So far, she hasn't come back quite as good at 5 as she was at 4. If she runs here, she's obviously going to have to try to turn it around very quickly. She was terrible last time.
Capilio was a graded stakes winner last year, earned a couple of grade 1 stakes placings, and indicated a potential return to form 2 starts back at Churchill Downs when rallying from off the pace to win a second-level allowance. I think the matchmaker you have to take with several grains of salt. Remember, they ran 1-2 all the way around the track, and after this horse was pinched at the start, she wound up last passing the stands the first time, and Butte Cachet, who was on the lead that day, then pulled the same trick somehow in the Boston Spa with a 98 buyer.
Yeah, that race slow early, fast late, and anytime the race shape is like that in front of Papilio, she's in big trouble because she doesn't really have a lot of speed. Listen, I thought they did the right thing with her 2 back then. They took a step back in class, ran her in her available condition. She looked good winning that race. She ran better than it looks when they moved her back up last time. I think she's a major contender in this race. I don't think I'd go too short on her. as far as price goes, but she's a major contender. Trips are very important to her, however.
Sister Luann won this race last year from up close to the pace, and that's basically her preferred running style. I think she'll be close again in this spot, but it was nice to see that she could also win from last, as she did 2 starts back at Churchill Downs. Maybe not away the best, but settled in a nice spot and last on the rail, got to the outside and grinded them down. The last race simply an utter throwout on dirt. Safi Joseph having a tremendous year.
Yeah, a great year. You don't just throw out the last race for this horse. I did like her win 2 starts back. I mean, she just makes a lot of sense in this race. Then you already know that she can run her race here at Kentucky Downs. Of course, that's always half the battle with these horses. So you don't have to worry about that. She's going to get a good trip in this race. She's probably going to be a fair price. I mean, Irad is taking them out, so we'll see how low they go. But I just think she makes a lot of sense in this race. I'm using her.
Olivia Moraldo is a stakes winner sprinting in England in 2023, and she's done some good things in the States. Very wisely shipped out to Southern California, where the pickings are a little bit easier in the Grade 1 Gamely, and she ran really well against their best turf middle distance filly and mare in Anisette. Last time out in the Matchmaker, I wanted to see her run better, but it was a similar situation as Papilio, just trying to rally off glacial fractions.
Yeah, I mean, she was disappointing last time, but maybe that's enough of an excuse, especially when you go back to her first 2 stateside starts, because she ran really well in both of those races without winning. I don't know, man. I thought she was the toughest call in the race. I did want to see her run better last time. I could get behind her off of the Keeneland and Santa Anita starts. Man, she didn't run well last time, even with excuses. I'm not sure what to do with her.
Safine, the number 7, at the 20-1 morning line, I think is worth at least a long look. Winner of the Grade 3 Pucker Up in 2023 at Ellis Park, and now reunited with the jockey that day, Luis Saez. Good effort, I thought. 3 starts back at Churchill Downs, made the lead, back down the fractions, just couldn't kick with those horses in the stretch. Perhaps a little disappointing in her last 2, but that Woodbine race, the Nassau, is always tough going a 1-turn mile, and she was very wide from an outside post last time. Didn't like that she didn't change leads in the stretch, but the blinkers coming on for more focus.
Yeah, didn't love the effort last time, but maybe, again, another horse that maybe there are excuses you can make to mitigate it if you want to. She's going to be a really big price in here. I thought she was one of the horses, I don't even think her best race that she's run to this point, I don't think it's going to be good enough in here, Dan. So that bothered me, but you're going to get compensated for it if you do like her. She has run twice here, and one of those starts, she actually ran pretty well.
I chased Anatolian over the winner at Gulfstream Park, 3rd in the La Prevoyance, 2nd in the Very One. And then last time out in the Orchid, they tried to go 1.5 miles again with her. And again, I think she ran okay. Those fractions for a 1.5 mile race were fast. They went 23 and change the opening quarter, 47. She advanced on the outside in between horses and then just got tired late. The 3rd finisher returning to place in the Grade 3 Sheepshead Bay with a 90. I just wonder if this distance is a little sharp for her.
I wonder that too. I mean, listen, Maker knows what he's doing, and he sort of wants to keep her going long. And listen, and she's run fine in some of those longer distance races too, as you've already pointed out. But then you start going through her form, and her last win on dirt is 1 mile and 1/16. Her last win on turf is 7.5 furlongs, and her last win on the all-weather surface is 1 mile and 70 yards. I mean, so maybe she's just as good going short. She just hasn't had the opportunity to do that recently.
Stir Crazy is the number 9, and while most of the other horses in this race have prior graded or stakes victories on her record, Stir Crazy hasn't. She's another one of those makers, though. Claimed for $35,000 during the summer of 2023, and Maker got her good, winning a couple of allowance races at Churchill, and then perhaps being the best horse last time out at Horseshoe Indianapolis in the Distaff Handicap. Down on the rail, they're going to try to ease out to find a spot, and it's just not going to work. She's going to try to split horses. Now that hole's not there. Now they're going to alter course to the rail, and now time's running out. Now they're going to alter course again to the inside, and time's running out, and she still fires a good shot to just miss. The winner came back to run 2nd in the Grade 2 Yellow Ribbon with an 87 buyer.
Certainly easy enough to argue that she was best last time, and the trip just didn't work out. She's a sort of a different case for Maker too, because I certainly believe that she's improved since the Maker claim, but you can see on the PPs there, Maker did try to stretch her out early on when he had her. Didn't really work out. He's concentrated on shorter distances with her recently, and it has worked out. Her last 3 races are all good.
Bolivie is up next. She was 7th at Ellis Park last time out. This is a horse that is odd to me because she's got a versatile running style. You just never know what they're going to use at any given time. 3 starts back in that 2nd level allowance. She comes from out of it. Then she showed speed when she just missed in that Distaff Handicap. And last time out, they took her far back again. Brendan Walsh is a very, very good trainer. You're getting a good price on the morning line, but I do think she might need a career best.
Yeah, she might too. Yeah, and I didn't, we just watched the replay of that race two back to Distaff at Horseshoe in Indianapolis. I didn't really think she had an excuse in there, Dan. They put her on the lead. She fought really hard through the stretch, and she just got beat. It wasn't a poor performance at all, but she didn't have an excuse either. I wonder if her best race is going to be good enough to do it, but she is another horse. She's never run here before. If she really takes to this, sort of this turf course in Kentucky Downs, what some horses like and some don't, I think she's good enough to sort of be there at what should be a pretty big price.
Angel Nadeshiko is the number 11. Pratt takes the mount for Safi Joseph, winner of the Grade 3 Robert J. Frankel at 1 mile and 1/8. Her final start of the 2023 campaign, and she just had the easiest trip possible at a giant price. They let her go 3/4 of a mile and 15 and change, and she had just enough to last. She hasn't run back to that race. She hasn't had that sort of trip. Last time out, though, on synthetic, she finished ahead of 3 next out winners.
Yeah, she's just one of those horses who I, just don't see the race that she's run that makes her good enough. You've already pointed out, all the advantage that she had when she won the Grade 3. Even her prior win, the win prior to that, which is back in 2022, which was on the dirt, was a similar situation. She just got to the front on a really slow pace and managed to last.
Hidden Connection, the number 12, is graded stakes winner on the dirt, making her turf debut in her 23rd lifetime start. I really don't like the connects on turf very much, 6% winners with first-time turf runners, but the dam has foaled one turf winner, and the second dam was Grade 3 placed on the lawn.
There's a little pedigree there. I mean, not enough to get, I don't think, super excited about. I could get interested in this horse, Dan, just because she's okay on dirt. I don't like her as a dirt horse, really. I don't really like any of her races. So maybe the surface switch will do something for her. I'm not betting her in here. I'll be interested to see how she runs.
And there's a chance there's going to be at least one scratch in the race, and that would let the 13 Loot Warm in. She's lightly raced with a ton of upside. She's coming into this race off 3 consecutive wins, albeit against weaker competition. But that last race against Colonial, against weak horses, showed that she could sit and finish, much as she did in her turf debut and a good second at Laurel.
Seems like she's in really good form. I mean, you would know more about this horse than I would, Dan. She's been running on your circuit. If you wanted to talk me into her, I would listen. But I don't think I'd take the 4-1 morning line.
I'm not sure I take the 4-1 as she steps up in class, but she is very sharp. I prefer the 15 Sun B to the 14. She's looking lucky if they get in. Sun B ran against her highly touted, at least on the tote board that day, stablemate Sparkle Blue, and despite losing a lot of ground, was running at the end.
I would agree with that. If all 3 of these horses get in, I'd probably just side with the 13, but I certainly like the 15 more than the 14.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for the Thursday race of the day is the One Dreamer Stakes. We both saw Stir Crazy's trip, and if you go into your free formulator past performances and click on the short comment line, you'll be able to see it as well. It'll be interesting to see how she handles this course. I think the price will be fair.
I think it will be too. That's one of the reasons I put her on top. I just really like her recent form, Dan. Again, you never know with these, the horses running at Kentucky Downs for the first time. I like this horse's recent races, though.
I respect your second pick in here, the number 10. But I do think if the 13 Loot Warm gets in, she's a horse I might want to consider, but she'd have to drift off her morning line. 9, 10, 4, 5 for Mike, 9, 5, 7, 4 for me. We'll see if Sister Luann can win the One Dreamer for the second year in a row. Good luck.